So I'm not usually one to kind of look into leaks and rumors when it comes to Breath of the Wild. Or any game in general. But this one seems to have a good bit of credibility to it. So this French website called GameReactor put out this article saying, new Nintendo patent unveils more about Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 gameplay. The freefall system, for example, is much more developed than we think. Which basically what had happened is they had went through and looked at some of the new Nintendo patents, and what had happened was they had found concepts for what the gameplay is supposed to look like. So I thought it'd be fun to go through like one by one and just kind of look at these and see really what it is that we're looking at here. So the first of these concepts is showing the free falling and diving mechanics in the sky. So as we see here, we have our normal falling and falling into the parasail that we know and are very familiar with from the original Breath of the Wild. From there, we can also see the newly implemented diving fall, which is reminiscent of the dive from Skyward Sword and in the gameplay revealed trailer that was shown off during E3. But from here, here's where it gets interesting. We can see here that you can rotate into a high velocity fall, which is similar to Skyward Sword, and a backward fall to where you're going to be facing up towards the sky with your back towards the ground. Which is very interesting, and it'll be something of note over here where we go into our archery stances. So if you're free falling from the air, you can pull your bow out in a normal stance. That's we're familiar with that because that's how it works in Breath of the Wild. But from here, we also see that archery can be used and utilized in the high velocity falling position as well as the upward ready position. So this is really interesting, and it goes to show that the diving mechanic when we're free falling is a little bit more fleshed out than we previously imagined it to be. I can imagine something like this here, where a high velocity archery shot might do more damage or something like that, and if you're having to rotate and face up towards the sky, to me that sounds like there's going to be a lot of aerial combat. So very interesting stuff here just on this, and goes to show that the diving mechanic and the free falling feature that we see in Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be a little bit more in depth than previously imagined. The second one that we're going to take a look at here is the rewind feature that was also shown off in the E3 trailer. Basically, this here is just a diagram going over the rewind mechanic itself. This first figure more or less just kind of shows you a general layout of the area for what how they're going to describe the use of this mechanic. The next figure down here at the bottom just goes to show kind of the trajectory once you initiate the rewind mechanic of where it's going to go. And the thing that I think is the most notable out of this, and that's really kind of the new thing here that we weren't familiar with in the past, is the rewind feature kind of has like has a duration meter, kind of akin to like maybe stamina. So what this could hint at is maybe the length in which you can rewind, both time-wise and distance. So I think this is a very interesting feature, and it really cool just to kind of get some concrete information on how this is going to work, because I know the rewind feature was one of the things that a lot of people kind of focused in on, and they were dissecting a bit, just kind of see what the new gameplay features were going to be with this new mechanic. And lastly, we have a diagram and a demonstration of what the phase through buildings, phase through walls, phase through the ground mechanic is. And this basically just kind of goes over the stipulations in which you will be able to use that mechanic. So condition satisfied basically means that conditions are met in order for this mechanic to be used. Condition unsatisfied means that this is you're in a place to where you're unable to use the mechanic. So from what we can tell in the first diagram is that if there is too much of a vertical slope, you won't be able to use the phase mechanic just because it's too much of a vertical incline. So that's where we see this first one here, where there's a lot more of a slant and you have a more surface area to cling onto. You have the ability to phase through that the condition is satisfied at that point. So verticality is going to play a large factor into that. So if you're on, near a front facing wall or something like that, you're not going to be able to face upwards through that material. The second condition, third condition unsatisfied here is if you're in a position like where there's an overhang or a ledge or something like that. You have to have a direct line of sight. There can't be any kind of obstruction to keep you from going through that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of environments we can and can't phase through. If there's a situation where like we might be able to phase through like if you're in a cave or something like that, and it's an uneven surface, you might not possibly be able to phase through it to get to the surface. The next figure we're going to have is going to show more or less the same thing, except for the surface of the area that you're phasing to. What conditions have to be met there. So again, with the angle and the trajectory here on the first ones, you can't have too much of a vertical incline to go up to it, just because of stability issues, I guess you could say. So you have to have a semi flat surface, or a surface that's not too sharp of an incline. The best way I could assume that this is going to work is like if you're in Breath of the Wild and you're going up to a surface and you're trying to climb it, if you're, how on some areas you can run up the side of a mountain, but then, you might hit something where it inclines a little bit, and then it's going to automatically make you start climbing. So I would assume that area where you hit the incline where you start climbing would kind of be the threshold that we would see here with this new mechanic. But time will tell. We'll have to see. And the other condition here is that, you might have an environment that is just too big for you to phase through. So it looks like there's some limitations on how far you can actually surface through, or there is just a cap on how far up you can go. I'm going to leave a link to the full article in English if you guys want to take a read of it yourself. But someone on the Breath of the Wild subreddit did translate it. Dramatic Rain 3410 is the user. But yeah, anyways, that's going to do it, guys. Just wanted to kind of throw this out there real quick, just so you guys kind of have the information there available to you. I urge you to take this with a huge grain of salt, because this leaks and rumors and things like this happen all the time, and a lot of times they're true, a lot of times they're not. So just kind of take it with a grain of salt, be cautiously optimistic with it, and just view it for yourself, see what you think about it, and then go from there. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.